What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since 2003, and I am currently in pain. The Detroit Pistons just fell in Game 1 to the New York Knicks by a score of 123 to 112 in a fourth quarter collapse. In this video, we are going to go through, talk about three key performances from tonight's game, and just kind of speak on what all led to the falling apart in the fourth quarter of this game and talk about what the outlook is for the remainder of the series. So, first guy that we do need to highlight is Tobias Harris, who did play a very good game. He finishes the night with 25 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, 8 of 13 from the floor, 4 of 5 from the three-point line, and 5 of 5 from the free throw line. He had, I think, 22 points in the first half, and of course, finished with 25, so most of his work did come in the first half. But throughout the first half, there was some problems, and throughout those problems, Tobias was a steady rock for us to lean on. He was able to get us quite a few buckets that kept us within this game and kept us within striking distance throughout the first half. A lot of those buckets came off of easy-ish looks, especially at the start of the game when there was a lot of attention on Cade Cunningham and others. But overall, good game for Tobias Harris. Just wish that he would have been able to get some of those easy looks that he got in the first half in the fourth quarter when the game was on the line, and ultimately the Knicks ran away with this one. So, moving along, the next player that we are going to highlight is going to be Malik Beasley. He finishes the night with 20 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block as well. 7 of 16 from the floor, 6 of 12 from the three-point line, and overall, Malik just picked up right where he left off from the regular season. Didn't skip a beat. Wasn't worried about him skipping a beat, but nothing changed from game 1 to game 82 Malik in the regular season to what we saw tonight. Malik Beasley showed up as he has throughout the rest of the year, hitting lots of three-pointers, especially in crucial moments when, the Knicks would go on a little run. He would quiet them with a good three-pointer, some of which were pretty contested. So pretty impressed with how Malik played, all things considered. And lastly, we are going to highlight Cade. Cade finishes the night with 21 points, 6 boards, 12 assists, 8 of 21 from the floor. A very up and down game for Cade Cunningham. Also had 6 turnovers. There was a lot of good with Cade Cunningham, such as the fact that throughout the first half, the New York Knicks did what they did not do in the regular season and trap him on every pick and roll. He made the right basketball play almost every time in those situations, but the bad, even when he was trying to make some of those plays, he did turn over the ball quite a few times down the stretch. When the Knicks are starting to run away with it, he did that as well. So overall, a very, very tough loss for the Pistons, as I mentioned, and as we all know, the Pistons were up in the fourth quarter by 8 points, and it was pretty much all downhill there when they ended up giving up a 21-0 run for the New York Knicks. So what are the takeaways from this game? Number one, first takeaway, is we can play with these guys. I know that it's cliche, and I know that it might seem like just some cope right now, but we can absolutely play with the New York Knicks, and this series is not over. Be able to go into Madison Square Garden and play 3 quarters of very good basketball is encouraging. What isn't encouraging is the way that they close that game. But hopefully they can learn from that and get better, especially considering that a lot of these guys, it's their first playoff game, right? Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Ausar Thompson, Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart. These guys have never played a single playoff game, and they're all core pieces of our team. So to be able to go out there and go head-to-head with these guys and actually keep it as in a game, end the game for the majority of the game, is encouraging if you want to look at it that way. But we definitely do need to be better in crunch time and be able to find ways to not only be able to score in those situations, but also get stops in those situations. Something else that has me very worried is the fact that Isaiah Stewart did leave the game with a leg injury. I know that towards the end of the regular season, he sat out a couple games with knee inflammation. I just kind of chalked that up to rest. I figured that maybe he was in a little bit of pain, a little bit of soreness, but it was just precautionary. Turns out, apparently, he was actually a little more hurt than I assumed coming into this game. I saw Pistons beat reporter Hunter Patterson, I believe it is, the new one for The Athletic, was saying at the very start of the game that he noticed Isaiah Stewart had a little bit of a limp. And then at a point during the game, it seems that he tweaked it in a way that kind of flared it up even more. And in the fourth quarter, he checked in and ended up having to come out and go to the locker room. So we're going to need Isaiah Stewart, especially because tonight we were a much better team with him on the floor than we were with Jalen Duren on the floor. Not sure how much of that is a coincidence. Not sure how much of that is Isaiah Stewart just being a better matchup fit. But Isaiah Stewart was a +8. We did outscore the Knicks by 8 points with Isaiah Stewart on the floor, whereas Jalen Duren was a -20. So we got outscored by the Knicks by 20 with Jalen Duren on the floor. That was the biggest gap out of anyone on our team. The +8 for Stewart was our team leader. The -20 for Jalen Duren was the worst on the team. So not at all trying to knock Jalen Duren or anything like that, but I just do think that Isaiah Stewart gave us a better look in this game. I know that throughout the end of the game, where there was a couple turnovers from Cade during that 21-0 run, there was a couple wide open shots that Tim Hardaway Jr. uncharacteristically missed. I know a lot of that stuff was out of Jalen Duren's control, but all in all, I do think that Isaiah Stewart did provide very good minutes, even though he was a little bit banged up. And I do think that it will be incredibly hard to win this series or even game 2 if Isaiah Stewart is not playing. I think it'll still be hard if he's playing, but not at full health. So hopefully, I don't know what they can do as far as injections or painkillers, whatever they have to do for my guy Beef Stew to be in the best shape he can be going forward. Hopefully they are able to come up with, because we're going to need him. So not trying to get too worked up about this, just because I know that it's a long series. They did show us that they can play with these guys tonight. They've just got to be better down the stretch. It's really hard to pin it on anybody. I'm sure that there's probably some fans, I haven't checked Twitter or Reddit or anything like that, but I'm sure there's probably some fans that were a bit frustrated with the Cade Cunningham turnovers down the stretch. But trust me when I say that was just a piece of a much larger pie. Also, shout out to Dennis Schröder. He had an incredible third quarter. Throughout the first half, it was like a one-possession game going into halftime, and we outscored the Knicks by 10 in the third quarter, and that was mostly just led by Dennis being a really good basketball player on both ends. Not only did he make a really big three-pointer to expand the lead, he also had a really nice block on Jalen Brunson, where Jalen Brunson was doing his signature head fakes, trying to get him in the air, draw a foul. Dennis just sent it packing, which led to a wide-open bucket on the other end. So a couple other things that just didn't go our way. There was a few calls I didn't like too much. There was a time where Tim Hardaway Jr. appeared to dunk the ball, and they called an offensive interference. I still could not figure out for the life of me what happened there. Ausar Thompson missing a wide open dunk on a fast break. Really don't know what happened there either. But overall, there's a couple positives to take away here, a couple negatives to take away here. What I do know is I forgot how emotional playoff basketball can be as a fan. It has been a long time since I have felt this way about a game, where I genuinely am like shook, man. Like, I'm obviously not gonna die over here or anything like that, but man, like, it's been a while since I've actually came away from a game and like my mood is worse off because of it. So let me know what you guys think. Look forward to game 2 now.